not you're an asset or a liability? Have you ever taken the time to really assess whether or not you actually bring something good or bad to the tables of life? Well, in this video, we're going to be talking about the difference between being an asset and a liability, and to get you to thinking and to making the adjustments needed so that you can bring a lot more to that table that you sit at day after day. So let's get right into this video. We're going to go over some definitions, and then we're going to get right into 8 different assets that each and every one of us should endeavor to have. That by not having one of these assets really creates a loophole within your life that can cause you to be a liability in that particular area. But let's first define what an asset is, then what a liability is, and we'll go from there. But an asset, by definition, is a valuable resource or skill that can provide benefits and generate positive outcomes. It can be tangible like money, property, or intangible like skills, relationships, and knowledge. So an asset is a valuable resource, and that's what we got to think about. So there's 2 tiers of life. There's source, and then there's resources. God is the ultimate source. We and things on this earth are resources. The difference between the resources is value. Is it a valuable resource or a non-valuable resource? And you got to look at your life and ask yourself, am I a valuable resource? That when God looks at me, or when your spouse look at you, or when your children look up to you, or when the people look for a leader, do they look at you as a valuable resource? As an asset is a valuable resource or skill that does what? That can provide benefits and generate positive outcomes. So an asset provides benefits. Do the people in your life benefit from you? Or do people in your life actually generate positive outcomes when they're in your presence? Do they leave more positive? It says an asset can be tangible, like money, property, etc., or intangible. That's where we're getting to, like skills, relationships, and knowledge. You got to think about that. What skills are valuable? What relationships do you have that are valuable? What knowledge do you have that's valuable? Let's talk about what a liability is. A liability is a disadvantage or burden that detracts from an individual's value or effectiveness, often hindering personal growth, relationships, or career progress. It can manifest as negative behaviors, poor habits, or unproductive mindsets that create obstacles in achieving goals and fulfilling potential. So we see that when a person is a liability, they create disadvantages or a burden. These are things, whether in their mentality, in their spiritual walk, in their physical body, that detracts from their individual value and effectiveness. So what are those liabilities in your life? Liabilities in you mentally? Are there liabilities in you spiritually? Is there areas in your life that you collected throughout life that's a part of your life that's detracting from your value or effectiveness? For example, how many people are harboring generational curses, harboring generational outlooks, that when they're now stepping into a relationship or marriage, what they create in the ecosystem of their home is now detracting from their value? Now their wife is looking to their husband, looking to you as a husband, and now is seeing that there's no value there when they bump up against that area, or they begin to see over time that generational wear and tear on your mind is keeping you from being effective as a spouse. It says these type of liabilities often hinders personal growth, it hinders relationships, and hinders career progress. It can manifest, like it says, as negative behaviors, poor habits, or unproductive mindsets that creates obstacles in achieving goal or fulfilling potential. So when you look at your life, you just don't want to look at your life from how you view it. You got to look at it in a full view, so that you can really see, hey, what are those areas in the different areas of my life that is creating assets or liabilities? Because if you look at the success of your marriage, the success of your parenting, the success of your business, the success of your career, you would be able to see what are what are those things that's contributing to the poor outcomes of these areas? Now, the goal is we got to create assets. So let me read this real quickly, and then we'll get into some points. Creating an asset, listen closely, is to bring in value, or an asset must be developed and nurtured over time. Here we go. I'll read it again. Creating an asset to bring in value, to bring in valuable things in your life, to be attractive enough to bring those valuable assets, or to be a place where people want to sit and dwell. An asset must be developed and nurtured over time. For example, skills need to be honed through practice and learning. Investments require time and wise management to grow, and relationships must be cultivated through trust and communication. It says once an asset is established, it can attract opportunities, generate income, and provide long-term benefits. Now, you and I have the great opportunity to create assets, to create spiritual assets, mental assets, emotional assets. We get a chance to create things in us that can draw value out of the marriage, draw value out of our children, draw value out of our career, draw value out of the marketplace, right? We have to understand that these different assets must be nurtured. They must be refined. They must be developed. They must be nurtured. And it says once these assets are established, once that mental asset is established, once that spiritual asset is established, once that physical asset is established, it can then attract opportunities, generate income, and provide long-term benefits. So let's dream for a little bit. Think about all the things you want to attract. My single people, think about the type of marriage you want to attract. Think about the type of culture you want to attract that will govern how you parent. Think about those entrepreneurs out there. Think about the type of money you want to attract, the type of opportunities you want to attract. For those in the career paths, start thinking about or dreaming about what is it that you want to attract in your career. What promotions do you want to attract, etc. When you begin to think about those different things, then you'll begin to see what you have established or what needs to be established. Are liabilities established in you, or are assets established in you? Because you and I have the great opportunity right now to begin to establish the type of traits, the type of fruit of the Spirit that can then, once it has been established at a mature level, it will then work for us. Do you have things inside of you that's working more against you than working for you? So let's get right into these 8 different assets that you got to think about. 8 different assets, 8 different liabilities. We're going to be talking about spiritual assets, mental assets, emotional assets, physical assets. I believe what else we got here? We got relational assets, creational and financial assets, professional assets, and generational assets. So let's go through these, and I want you to take inventory about your life to see, hey, what do I have these assets in my life? Because unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand what they actually bring to the tables of life. So let's scroll up real quick. I'm going to read this quick paragraph. I want to get into it. It says, becoming an asset is important. So now you don't just want to create assets like external assets, like investments and things of that nature. You want to now look at your life and ask yourself, am I becoming an asset? Like, am I actually becoming someone that can attract the income and the opportunities that we desire in life? It says becoming an asset is important because it means you bring value to God, to yourself, and to others through skills, character, and contributions. That's big. Becoming an asset is important because it means you bring value, that wherever you are, you bring a list of things that's valuable to God, to yourself, and to others through your skills, character, and contributions. It allows you to attract opportunities, build strong relationships, and create lasting impact both personally and professionally. An asset-driven life leads to greater fulfillment, stability, and the ability to positively influence your environment. That's what God wants us to be as kingdom agents in this world. He wants that no matter where we are in this world, we bring kingdom value. We bring eternal value. We bring what the world cannot bring. So when the pharaohs and presidents and leaders of life begin to see God's people versus worldly people, whether they believe in your God or not, they'll begin to say, hey, they bring more to the table than them. See, we're supposed to be the ones leading in every juncture of life. We're supposed to be the ones leading in every critical area of society. It's supposed to be us, because when we're tapped into the source as resources, we'll have that pipe funneling through the intangible traits and abilities that will cause us to be well above the competition, head and shoulders above everyone else, so that when we become an asset, we bring to every environment valuable resources. We have eternal, spiritual, kingdom skills. We'll be able to have godlike character. We'll be able to make contributions that exceed and it is abundant over whoever we serve can ask or think. That what we do is exceedingly and abundantly above all than whatever manager, client, a leader can ask or think. That's how we're supposed to be. So that when we have this asset-driven mentality and we begin to really embrace the years that God has given us to develop, so instead of complaining these 3 years of being single, you will see these 3 years of singleness as a gift. Instead of complaining about why your marriage is going through these 2.5 years or whatever it is that y'all going through, you will begin to see this is an opportunity for me to hone in on who I am as an asset, so that when I am released, and when our marriages are released, and when your life is released, or whatever it is that's released, it will bring more value and impact. So you got to think holistically. That's why the whole purpose of this channel is to help you grow holistically for God's optimal use. I want to get you to a place where you can be optimally used by God at the highest level, because you have grown holistically. That's why my coaching is about holistic success, because success in one area is not success in any area, right? So now let's go and define each asset. Now I want you to look at your life and assess, do you have assets in these areas or liabilities in these areas? Do you have an asset? Do you have assets spiritually, or do you have liability spiritually? Let's go through this together. Get your pen and pad, and we'll labor about 20 minutes on all of these, and let's see if we have some great dialogue from here. So let's define what a spiritual asset is. A spiritual asset is the inner strength and wisdom derived from a relationship with God and living according to spiritual principles. That is what a spiritual asset is. A spiritual asset is an inner strength and wisdom. God wants us to have those assets in us. He wants us to have an inner strength. He wants us to be able to count it all joy. He wants us to not be anxious for anything. A spiritual asset is the inner strength and wisdom that God wants to give us. Not only inner strength, but he wants to give us wisdom that can only derive from a relationship with God and living according to spiritual principles. So when we are cultivating and developing and honing within the climate of God's presence, we are then able to create inner strength as well as wisdom, that when we are in places where there is a spiritual need, we bring strength and godly wisdom. And we have a life that has lived off those spiritual principles. Here's an example. A person who practices daily prayer and meditation finds peace and resilience in difficult situations, guiding them through life challenges. So we as believers know that we're going to go through tough times. Right now, after Tuesday, we don't know what tough times in this country that we may have to go through. But those who have honed in those spiritual assets, they are able to navigate tough and difficult times with joy and with wisdom because they have that spiritual asset. Imagine it being in a house with a spouse without that spiritual asset. How many people right now, no matter what, no, how many couples right now are with someone that you're going through a tough time right now, and all you do is complain, all you do is you are filled with anxiety, all you are is the opposite. So let's go ahead and talk about the liabilities of a person who doesn't have these spiritual assets. It says a liability that is within the spiritual realm of a person's life is lack of spiritual discipline or neglecting time for prayer can lead to feelings of disconnection from God, resulting in anxiety or lack of direction. So in your spiritual realm, you either have, and you got to assess what side of the spectrum you're on. Right now, in the spiritual column of your life, either you have the assets of spiritual strength and wisdom, being able to be resilient through tough times, or you are a spiritual liability, meaning that all you bring is a lack of direction, all you bring is anxiety, all you bring is disconnection. Think about the 10 virgins, the 5 wise and the 5 foolish. The 5 wise made sure they had enough oil in their lamps. They understood that the bridegroom could tarry, so they forecasted that and they prepared accordingly. They stockpiled enough oil for the tough times or for times where they may need it urgently. The 5 unwise were those who didn't have enough oil in their lamps, so that when the bridegroom they heard that he was on the way, that he was coming, they began to see, hey, I don't have oil in my lamps. I don't have enough fires to help me to see to follow him to wherever he goes. So what did they do? They tried to take from the 5 wise, but the 5 wise were wise. They said, hey, go out there and buy your own, lest we don't have any for ourselves. And a lot of people right now have no light in them. They have no oil in them. They have no substance. They have no spiritual oil in them that would keep them ablaze and lit no matter what comes into conflict, no matter what comes in them. So when you begin to think about whether or not you're a spiritual asset or a spiritual liability, tough times will reveal that. But your goal and my goal should be, I want to be a spiritual asset. I want to be able to be in a tough time, whether it's your own or somebody else's tough time, and provide the strength and the wisdom to be able to navigate. Ladies, you want to be married to a man who is a spiritual asset that you can go to for prayer, that you can go to and be washed in the word, that you can go to and have wisdom, that you can go to and know that no matter how tough times come, he's able to sleep, he's able to rest, and he's able to assure you that everything's going to be all right. Fellas, you want to be married to a woman who's a spiritual asset, who is spiritually discerning, whose intuition is greater than her emotions, that she's more intuitive than she is emotional, that she's able to support you as a spiritual asset. So when your name is dropped in her spirit, whether you out there in a business meeting or you out there wherever, she's able to tap into another gear to help you wherever you are. You want to be a spiritual asset. Why? Here is what a spiritual asset attracts. We talked about assets attract. I don't know if I said it already. Assets attract. Every asset has the opportunity to attract income, to attract opportunities. That's why I don't believe in going after things. I believe in becoming the person that can attract them. I want to be the person where, as I grow in the things of God, I begin to attract the things that I want in life, right? But here is what a spiritual asset attracts. As a husband, as a wife, as a single person, as a mother, as a father, whatever role you hold, this spiritual asset will attract these things. Spiritual assets attract spiritual peace. It attracts clarity. It attracts guidance that can attract opportunities for growth and deepen purpose pursuits. It opens doors to like-minded relationships and a sense of divine alignment. So when you are a spiritual asset, you can't help but bring in a peace that the world can't provide. You're able to bring in clarity, not only for you, but for others. You're able to attract guidance because you tapped in. You're sensitive to the things of God. You're able to do these things, which then attracts like-minded people. It attracts opportunities. It attracts divine alignment. So that is a spiritual asset. So what side of the spiritual asset are you on? The purpose of this video is simply to bring awareness, because awareness leads to preparedness, right? So are you a spiritual asset? Let's go down to mental assets. A mental asset. Let's define what a mental asset is. The definition is the capacity. A mental asset is the capacity for clear, critical, and creative thinking that allows for problem solving and decision making. So is your mind a mental asset? Does your mind right now have the capacity for clear, critical, and creative thinking? God designed the mind for those three things. God wants your mind to be an asset and not a liability. He wants your mind to develop into the capacity for clear, critical, and creative thinking. Right now, your mind has a capacity, but is it a big enough capacity? See, the more you grow in the stages of life, you have to increase your mental capacity. You don't want to be head of a household with a small capacity mentally. You don't want to be a wife in a home with a small mental capacity. You don't want to create a culture that limits the mental capacity of your children, right? You don't want to be a single person endeavoring to be married and you have a small capacity. See, the level of your growth determines the capacity of your mind. So does your mind have the capacity at the level that you are now and at the level you are aspiring to be able to think clearly or clouded? So are you thinking clear or clouded? Are you thinking critically or non-critically? Creatively or non-creatively? God wants your mind to be in of its own self, to be disciplined and wired enough to solve problems and make decisions. Now, how many women right now watching me online want to be married to a man who cannot think clearly, critically, or creatively? How many women right now who are in a marriage or want to be married, you can't think clear, critically, or creatively? How many men watching me right now and you're married and you know for a fact you're not able to think clear, critically, or creatively? How many of y'all right now have that low capacity? Like, the higher you go, the farther you should be able to achieve. Because God wants us to be problem solvers and he wants us to make wise decisions. So I'll give an example. Here's an example of a mental asset. Someone who has trained themselves to think positively and rationally under stress and can make sound decisions in high pressure environments. That's an example of a mental asset. Meaning, under stress, your mind can perform still at its best. That you are able to think clear, critically, creatively. Now, here's the liabilities. Either you have the ability to think clearly, critically, or creatively. That means you have that asset mentally. Or here is the liability. So you'll see which side are you on as far as are you a mental asset or a mental liability in your life and your relationship. Number one, Overthinking or constant negative self-talk can cloud judgment and hinder decision making, leading to missed opportunities. So, like I used to be a heavy overthinker. And I used to talk negatively. So I used to be a mental liability. Imagine my wife being married to me and I overthink or overthought. Or imagine what her life would be if I still was a person that negative self-talked, right? She would have a miserable marriage, right? Because every time something comes to me, I'm overthinking. That's a mental liability. And a lot of people unknowingly are mental liabilities in their relationships and in their own lives that prevents opportunities leading to them missing them. How many opportunities have you missed because you overthought them or you negatively self-talked them? So here is what a mental asset attracts. Let's keep going for time's sake. Mental assets. When you have a mind that's a mental asset, it attracts innovative ideas, which means you're able to attract from the stockpile of heaven inventions and frameworks and systems and processes and paintings and drawings and artists and characters and movies. You're able to attract innovative ideas. So when your mental asset is in an environment, you're able to draw from any inspiration that's in a room because your mind sees differently. Also, strategic opportunities, it attracts that. Because you are a strategist, you'll begin to see the hidden opportunity behind the obstacle and problem-solving challenges that align with one's goals. That means you're able to see solutions in the problems that you face. So are you a mental asset or are you a mental liability? Do you bring overthinking, poor thinking, underthinking? Underthinking is the ability not to think things up to par. You underthink. You're not able to see, you're not able to think up to level. You don't consider everything. So now that you see, hey, either I'm a mental asset or I'm a mental liability. Can you see that, yeah, you could be strong spiritually, but if your mind is off, you're a liability area. So let's go to emotional assets. Let's get to emotional. Now you got to see whether or not you are an emotional asset or an emotional liability. Let's read. Here's the definition of an emotional asset. The ability to understand, here we go, manage and express emotions in a healthy way, leading to emotional resilience. Ooh, that's good. Do you have the ability to understand, manage, and express your emotions in a healthy way? So, do you express your emotions yelling? Do you express your emotions quietly, like you the silent treatment? Emotional asset means that you have the ability to understand your own emotion. You say, I understand why I feel this way. Self-awareness. Oh, this emotion that is still alive in me stemmed from this event, stemmed from this memory, stemmed from this encounter, stemmed from this experience. I understand why I feel the way I feel. I understand my triggers, and now I'm dealing with them systematically. I'm also able, an emotional asset individual, a person's able to manage their emotions. When triggered, they have systems and tools in place to help them manage those emotions so they don't go out and start swinging on people or start becoming emotionally wounded from something that wasn't even what they assumed it to be. Right? So when you begin to see, you'll be able to say, hey, do I understand my emotions? Am I able to manage my emotions? And am I able to express them in a healthy way? Do I have emotional intelligence and emotional resilience? Let me tell you, there are going to be certain chapters in your marriage, certain chapters in your singleness, certain chapters in your business, certain chapters in your life where you have to be emotionally intelligent and resilient. Why? Because you're going to face things that's going to trigger you, and you have nothing around you to combat that trigger, except for your own ability to manage and express your emotions. Imagine being a season like Noah, building an ark and people laughing at him. Do you know how emotional resilient you have to be building something under a concept or guise that has never existed, like rain? How many of you can actually build a business, build a ministry, build an idea, and take the criticism and to be able to still be emotionally intelligent and resilient enough to be able to see the product through for God to be able to prepare a table in the presence of your enemies so that you can celebrate the outcome? Here's an example of an emotional asset. A person who can remain calm and empathetic during conflicts at work or in their marriage can help de-escalate tensions and maintain a positive environment. So an individual has the ability to remain calm and empathetic. That's the beginning stages of emotional intelligence and emotional resilience, is having the ability to empathize. What helps me is putting somebody else's shoes on my feet, even in the midst of conflict, to understand why the conflict's there. All right? So now you're able to say, hey, I'm able to remain calm and empathetic during the conflict, having the skills and the ability to de-escalate the tension with the ultimate goal to maintain positive or a positive environment. That's the example of emotional asset. Now let's talk about the other side of the spectrum, emotional liability. Unchecked, here we go, words have power. Unchecked emotional reactivity, such as anger or anxiety, can create a toxic environment and strain relationships. So right now, ask yourself, are your emotions the root reason why your relationships are strained? Could it be that when you walk into that work environment, you're the reason why it's toxic? Is it that you have created excuses for the areas emotion that you left unchecked? And now you react in your relationship and you react in these environments and you got those emotions guarded by excuses? And now every time you walk into the environment, nobody wants to be around you. Every time you walk into your relationships, they feel strained. You got to think about that. Because either you possess emotional intelligence, emotional resilience, either you possess the skills and the abilities to understand, manage, and express your emotion in a healthy way, or you harbor toxic emotions like anger, from anger to anxiety, from A, anger, to Z, zealousness, that creates toxic environments, relationships. Now you are able to say, hey, even though you're able to bring, a lot of people bring spiritual knowledge to the table, but they also bring emotional liabilities. How many people know the Bible? They know all the books of the Bible. They know what every character did. They have 101 scriptures memorized. So they're able to bring the biblical Rolodex or the biblical commentary to the table, but they have emotional issues. That's why we're going through each area so that you can see what area of yours is a liability or an asset. So we'll go down to what an emotional asset will attract. So how many people raise their hand and want to be more attractive? Just put whatever emoji you want to use. Who all wants to be more attractive? The more attractive you become, the more you'll attract to come in, right? So here is what an emotional asset will attract. Emotional assets will attract healthier relationships. It will attract a supportive work environment. Now you start seeing coworkers, bosses, and people going the extra mile for you. Now you're able, because you're a great addition to the environment. They're able, anytime you want time off, they let you have it because they know you're an asset. They know you a thermostat. They know you able to bring laughter, joy, and productivity to the environment. You also attract trust from others, because people know that no matter, they seen you at your hottest, they seen you at your coldest, and they see that you're still manageable. It also says you attract increased productivity, opportunity for leadership roles. You'll attract the ability to create positive work culture, which can lead to bonuses. You're able to attract more clients. Emotional assets. So are you attracting those things or detracting those things or subtracting those things? Real quickly, physical assets. We got to think about, are we a physical asset? Here's the definition. After this video, I got to go to the gym. I got to increase this area of mine. This is an area that I got to work on, the physical asset. Definition: a person's health, fitness, and physical energy that enables them to perform daily tasks and achieve their goals. That's a physical asset. You actually provide and bring to the table of life, the tables of life, physical health. No diseases. If a disease through sickness or whatever comes in, you have the remedies to bring an end to these, right? You able to bring a level of fitness to the table. Physical energy that enables you to perform daily tasks. Now, right now on a sheet of paper, write down all of the things you must do every day. Every day I gotta be able to work 8 hours. I gotta come home and be a husband, be a father. I gotta be able to write books. I gotta be able to still create. And then ask yourself, that's what I ask myself, are you at the fitness level required? Do you have the fitness ability, the health ability to sustain these daily tasks for decades? So right now, I already know, hey, coach, you got to lose at least 10, 15 more pounds, coach. Because baby girls are toddler now. And they only going to want to run more. Don't you want to keep up? Don't you want to lead? Don't you? See, I don't just want to keep up with my daughter. I want to lead my daughter. I want to be able to outrun her so that she can see we are a fit family. Do you have, and this is an area, I'm being transparent. I'm going to the gym right after this. This is an area where I don't want to become a physical liability, where I die off. And now my daughter doesn't have a father because he died when she was 6. I don't want my wife to not have a husband because I'm not physically fit. Now, there's other areas where I'm strong in, where I'm not stressed. But when times get tough and times get full, I do emotionally eat. I don't do the 2 honey buns from 7-Eleven, but I do find myself carrying the weight of being a husband, a father, a minister, a preacher, an entrepreneur. Yeah, that stuff can weigh, and that's the area where I'm working on. So I'm not perfect in all these areas, but transparency may bring an awareness to someone else that, yo, let's get in the gym. Let's get stronger. Let's get healthier. Because our families need us fellas to still be there, right? Here's an example. An individual who maintains a regular exercise routine has the stamina to handle long work days and stay active with their family. That's where we got to get to, where we are physical liabilities. Right now, if you're a single man, are you a physical asset or a physical liability? Ladies, single, if you were to get married today, right now, as is, are you a physical asset or a liability? So let's talk about defining a physical liability. Poor lifestyle habits like poor workout routines or an unhealthy diet can lead to fatigue, chronic health issues, reducing productivity. So either you, right now in your physical column, either you are a physical asset with the assets of health, fitness, physical energy, and you're able to perform at a high level without fatigue, or you are a physical liability where you always fatigued, or you have chronic health issues, reducing productivity. And when you are not physically able, now you add an extra weight to the one who is able, and now you create a strain in your marriage because you are a physical liability, it puts too much on the other significant other, and now it's just over, potentially. Here are what it attracts. Here's what a physical asset attracts. Being a physical asset attracts greater vitality. So you keep going from glory to glory in your fitness. It attracts energy, which then creates ability, right? It attracts physical endurance needed to tackle demanding tasks. Could it be the reason why God hasn't elevated you or elevated me is because we're physical liabilities? Something to think about. Now, let's go to relational assets. We might not be able to get through this in an hour or so. We'll be done in the next 20 minutes for sure. I have maybe 4 or 5 more, so I'll go through these as quickly and effectively as possible. They will go from strength to strength. That's right, Kassan. That's so true. Relational assets. Let's look at that. Define it. Let's define it. The ability to build and maintain healthy, supportive relationships with others. That's an asset, a relational asset. You have the ability to build and maintain supportive relations with others. Don't you want to be in a supportive relationship where there's reciprocity, where there's, because you are a relational asset, it brings greater supportiveness? See, for instance, I don't worry about my wife's submissiveness. I don't gauge her submissiveness. I don't judge her submissiveness. I don't communicate or critique or criticize her submissiveness. What I do is I criticize, measure, and audit my sacrificialness. The more sacrificial I am, the more submissive she becomes. It's just that simple. So when I began to understand that, instead of wondering why my wife is supportive, now I have to ask, well, am I sacrificing? Because if I'm not sacrificing at the level that the relationship requires, it will limit the support. So if I want more support from my wife, I have to show that she's not second. I got to show her that any and everything will be sacrificed for her. If not, she will harbor inside of herself ideologies, she'll harbor thoughts that will cause her to be emotionalized and limit her support. It's that simple. Vice versa. If a woman is not submissive at the level that their marriage requires, it will create a limit on her husband that will have him go through, is this even worth sacrificing for? I think I heard someone say, a lady wants a man to sacrifice, but she never asks whether or not she's worth dying for, because Christ says sacrifice at the level to the point of death, like not death, physical death, but that you're willing to sacrifice like Christ did for the church and gave his life up. So now men have to ask, am I worth submitting to? And women got to ask, am I worth sacrificing for? So when you think about that, you got to look at your relationship and ask yourself, how much support am I coming? I'm talking about if you got a good spouse, a good man, a good woman, and you begin to see, hey, they're doing what's required, but they're not going above. They're not willing to sacrifice beyond this level. They're not willing to submit beyond this level. Then you got to assess, hey, am I submitted or sacrificing to devils? Because could that be the reason why they're not sacrificing at the level that I need them to? So a relational asset is having the ability to build. You know how to build. See, when you get with someone, you're not going to be perfect. Hear me clearly. You're not going to be perfect for them. And what I mean by that, you're not going to be like, you're not going to have everything. I've learned in marriage that marriage equips you for the next levels of marriage, right? But the goal is to be prepared at the beginning of that relational journey. So you don't want to be married to a person that only sits and waits for things to be built, but who cannot build. That's why it's important that when you're single, you look for builders, not yielders. And what I mean by that, you want to be around people who can build, and not yielders, I'm sorry, but people who sit back and watch. You want to be with someone who actually has built some things in their lives, who's played sports, who's worked in teams, who led teams, who built at high levels. That's what you want. You don't want to be married to a woman that's waiting for you to build something, nor do you want to marry a man that's waiting for you to build something. You want to be married to builders. That's relational asset. Y'all are able to teamwork, build together, right? And not only build, but maintain at a high level. Now, here are examples. A leader, oh, that's the wrong one. I forgot to change that one. But either way, let's talk about relational liability. So right now, either you possess the building and maintaining abilities that garner support from a spouse or significant other, or you have these relational liabilities. Difficulty in maintaining relationships or failing to communicate effectively can lead to isolation and missed collaborative opportunities. So you are a relational liability if it's not easy or you don't possess the ability to maintain relationships. You don't know how to maintain them. Like your relationships always end and they never extend. You don't know how to communicate effectively. You're always isolated or isolating the other. Or you're the reason why your relationship missed opportunities. Could it be that if y'all would have just collaborated, like you a horrible teammate, like you don't know how to work with anybody, you think everybody owes you, you are a relational liability. Now here's what a relational asset attracts. It attracts a network of support. Because you're good at relationships, you listen right now, and I'm sorry, this is an area that I'm strong in. Because I'm good with people, and because I honor people, because I don't burn bridges, no matter what happens in my life or my family's life, I know I got a list of 40 plus people that I can call. If that's why I do right now, if anything was to happen to me in my career, let's say if I'm not able to work at where I'm working at now, I got 2 schools I can call, 2 principals I can call. Boom. And there won't be no elongated season of me. It's like I can call because I was good to this person, no matter what happens in this situation, I'm able to cross that bridge. So a relational asset attracts a network of support. It attracts opportunities through connections. Because I'm good to my wife's family, no matter what, if they see me wherever, they're gonna be like, man, that's Josh, that's family. I've only seen him be nothing but good to my niece, nothing but good to my aunt or whoever. I can sustain those connections and referrals that come from positive relationships. So right now, when you become a relational asset, you attract a strong network of support. You attract opportunities through connections because God blesses through people. That's why you got to be good to people. The Bible says, be good to people because you may be entertaining angels unaware. And if you disrespectful to an angel, the angel that has your blessing in his back pocket, like anybody could be an angel. And the thing about it is, angel investors able to invest without you paying back. And don't you want to be so good at relationships that opportunities come through? That's the only way I got into the school system. I had no degree. I had nothing to prove that I was credible enough to be in the school system. But because I was who I was, nice to that one young lady, always show that young lady respect, Miss Trepigny, because I was always who I was, the joy of the Lord, an opportunity came through that connection. Also, right now, because you're good at relationships, when you become a relational asset, your names will be spoken in rooms. Because you're so gifted, and people think that all you gotta do, your gift makes room for you. Great, but the wrapper the gift is in plays a part in those rooms being made available. Because how many sports teams talked about how this player was a great player but bad in the locker room? And they got rid of them, or they had short careers. Have you not heard of people who had 18, 20 years? Like Vince Carter, 20-year career. But he wasn't the Vince Carter of old. But because he was good in the locker room, because he was good at relationships, he kept collecting checks. He barely played 2 minutes a game, but because he played a full game in the locker room, but because he played a full game on the plane, but because he played a full game at the restaurant and was a good relational asset to the team, he kept collecting checks beyond his physical ability. So when you think about relational assets, you begin to think, hey, Can I lengthen this season of my life? Am I relational enough for people to say, hey, not only is she good at this, not only is he good at this, but they're a good person. They're a great asset relationally to your environment. So are you a relational asset or a relational liability? Let's talk about creational and financial assets. And then we got two more, and then we're done. Let me know if you're learning something from this. Just put whatever you want to let me know if you're getting something from this. Can y'all post right now for those who want to chat what you're getting from this? What's one thing that you got from this video thus far? I just want to see. I'm going to start implement that in my videos more. I'm going to halfway through, more than halfway right now. I'm going to simply ask what you guys are getting from this. What from this video has been a blessing to you? G. Noel said emotional liability. That's good. That's good. I'm so glad you got that. Glad to catch you live. Shamika says that was definitely a word I needed to hear. Being a relational asset. Yep. Honoring others. Yep. That's big. Keep them coming. I'm going to go to creational and financial asset. This is also another area that you got to make sure that you're not a liability in, right? But here's the definition. The ability. Hear me. This is big. Creational and financial asset is having the ability to generate resources and manage finances responsibly for personal and relational growth. Stop burning or breaking bridges. That's good. That's real good one. All right. One of the greatest areas where we can get as close to God as possible is the ability to create. God has gifted us a gene of his that enables us to generate for generations. Hear me? God has placed a gene of himself that gives us the ability to generate ideas for generational impact and income. In the beginning, God created. God gave Adam the opportunity to create names for the animal. The first thing God gave Adam the opportunity to do was to create. Well, I just want to see what Adam names them. He gave Adam and Eve a garden for them to creatively manage it. God gave us a gene of his to be able to generate for generational impact and income. That is huge. Anytime you live in an environment or around people that suffocates that gene, then you won't be able to generate generational income, generational blessings, generational impact that will bless your children's children. The Bible says a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Right now, I'm thinking about Hannah's children. Before Hannah was even born, I was thinking about Hannah and Hannah's kids one day. That is my responsibility, is to tap into that God gene, that likeness of him, that creative likeness, where I'm able to tap into that creative power that has been engrafted in me, given unto me, to be able to generate books, generate card games, generate videos, generate coaching programs, generate emotional intelligence, generate love in my home, generate intangible and tangible assets that can then create generational impact. And my friend, if you do not have that ability to tap into that gene or have the ability to generate an idea, to see it through, so through that it goes through generationally, that now your great grandkids is eating off of what you generated from that God gene. That is a creational financial asset. Right now, I have about 15 assets, if not more, probably 20 assets that generates income for me and mine. 11 books. Right now, I can't show you the book right now. I'm creating the 12th asset. I created my 12th book. I'm going through it now. 12 books, 5 card games. That's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. A YouTube channel, 18. 3 coaching programs, 19, 20, 21. Consulting, 22. Say 22 to 25 assets. Are all of them activated? Do all those books sell every now and then? No. But what I've done, I've generated the barrels. I generated the boats, because right now, when my viral moment comes, when one of these videos take off, every generated idea that's created is going to draw income. There's times when the purpose of singleness brings in a lot of sales. There's sometimes when counterfeit counterpart brings the most sales. But there is coming a day that when the rains pour, all boats rise. That when it rains, every barrel will overflow. That's what you got to be positioning yourself for. Hey, what are those ideas in you? I don't care if that first book, second book, first album, first business, whatever it is, doesn't take off. Create the barrels so that when it rains and when it pours, that barrel will be made full. That's what you and I got to start thinking. Because most of us, God is giving you time to get the barrels out because the rain is coming. And you got to be ready. You know why I'm so serious about this? Because when one of my videos went viral, in 2013, the video was made. 2017, the video went viral. I had no links on that video. I had no links on that barrel. I had no books linked to that video. I had no t-shirts linked to that video. Do you know how many tens of thousands of dollars I missed because I had holes in my barrel? Oh, but when the next storm comes, I got links, I got things ready. And there could be a time set where God said it's going to rain in your life. And then I'm not changing that time. I'm not changing that opportunity. It's either going to be a lesson or a blessing. And that's why I'm telling you right now, don't sit on that. That video was made in 2013, didn't go viral in 2017, and I missed that opportunity. And you, as a warning from my story, you got to make sure that all of your barrels are ready, all of your boats are ready, so that when it rains over your life, that rain of favor rains on you. Your children be drinking from that barrel. Your children be drinking from that well. Now you turn that barrel into a well. And all of a sudden, your family can drink off that book. My daughter's sons, my daughter's sons will be drinking from these books that when I'm 80-some years old and I go on to be with the Lord, generationally, people will, my people, the Azzies beyond me, will be drinking. And that's what you got to start thinking about. Are you tapping into that gene? Are you creating time to generate for generational impact and income? Here's a liability in this area. Poor financial management or impulsive spending or the lack of creating can result in debt or hinder the ability to pursue and create opportunities. Either you are a creational or financial asset where you're able to create, generate, get things out there. And I used to ask God, why you want me to write this book? And then when I write this book, it don't sell as the other book sells. And God's told me, he said, man, it may not sell now. It's not about if it sells, when it sells. Do you know God will have you create something 2 years before it's time? It's time for you to create it, but it's time to create for you. That God just simply wants you to act off obedience. So I tell people all the time with YouTube and people that I consult about their whatever they do in a purpose project. I tell them, especially YouTube channel, I tell them, don't look at the views. Focus on the viewer. Most people start the YouTube channels and they'll focus on the views. Well, this video only got 100 views. Do you know that if your video got 100 views, what if you had those same 100 people in a room? Those 100 people in a room that room would feel lit. You know what I'm saying? So, but people look at the views, oh, I'm not good enough. No, it's not about if it'll have views. It is when it will have views. And you'll just create simply for that viewer. Right now, I have 16 people watching me. It's been trending between 16 and 20. I'm giving y'all the same energy as if I would if there was 20,000 people watching. It's not if 20,000 people is going to watch this. It's when 20,000 plus going to watch this. That's the mentality. But if I looked at y'all 16 and be like, oh, it's 16, I'm going to get through these points. I'm going to rush through these points. And I didn't care about you as the viewer, you, that 17th person that just came in the room, what's going on? That 17th person that just came in or came in? Imagine if I just said, oh, that's 17 people, only got 10 likes. This video sucks. No. This video, for those who are watching, is for them right now, right? But most people, they look at, well, whatever. But God said, man, I just want you to be obedient. Because God just wants you to get the book done. Because God knew that there were certain things I had to get done before I got married. Because he knew that when I got married, time would be divided. But here are the things that a creational financial asset attracts. It attracts financial stability. It attracts income. It attracts the ability to create wealth. It attracts so much. Let's talk about, are you a professional asset or professional liability? And then we'll get a generational and then we're done. Professional asset is defined as skills, knowledge, and experience that enhances a person's ability to perform their job or business effectively and advance in their career in the marketplace. You're a professional. Are you a professional asset? On the job right now, at your job right now, how do your employers look at you? When you walk in a room, what do they think about you? Do you produce or do you reduce? Or do you possess skills, knowledge, and experience that enhances your ability to perform your job or handle your responsibilities to your clients that will help you advance in your career or advance in business? When your clients ask for something, do you produce or do you reduce? When they invest in you, do you produce or do you reduce? You got to think about that. On your job right now, do your employers, when they about to make cuts, I'll tell you one thing. You should be so good at what you do that when it comes to layoffs, they're not laying off you. No, we got to keep Kassan. We got to keep Shamika. We got to keep Jazz. We can't let Casavilla go. No. We got to lay off everybody but them. I'm sorry. We got to keep them. Or when you at a position right now where you have clients, no, I got to keep working with this person. No, because my life has only gotten better. This person performs. This person's professional. Here's a liability of a professional liability. Lack of professional development or resistance to new learning can make one less competitive in the job or business market. Every day you should be professionally developing. How can you get better with people skills? How can you get better at communicating? How can you get better at your current job? People want God to lob them another job, but they're a slob at their current job. How can you expect God to lob you a better job if you're a slob at this job? He's not. So, and that's disrespectful, because if you're wasting your employer's time, stealing the resources from your job, and you're not a good employee, the Bible talks about if you can't take care of what belongs to another man, who would give you your own? Who would make you partner? Who would give you a promotion? Who would give you this contract? Who would give you that if you can't take care of another man? My pastor, who passed away 2 years ago, I've had this mentality. This man owned so many properties, owned so many lands. I just found out 100 acres of land in Charlotte, right? Every time I saw a piece of paper on his property, I stopped and picked it up. Every time I saw something out of order in any one of these buildings that man owned, I took care of it. In the school, right now, I make sure, hey, one day, who knows if God wants me to have my own school? Who knows if God wants me to have hundreds of acres of property? But if I can't take care of another man's property, who would give me my own? That's the mentality professionally got to have. I'm going to do this job well because I'm working unto the Lord. Promotion doesn't come from east or from the west. It comes from the Lord. That you want the Lord to, thank you, servant leaders. You want to be able to, where God can nudge on the heart of your employee and say, give her the job. I don't know why, girl. Kassan, come here. I don't know, man. I was thinking about you at 2 a.m. and we have this job position available, and you're the one for it. And we're going to surround you with the right people to help you be equipped for this job. But this job pays $50,000 more. That didn't come from that person. That came from a nudge from God. Thank you, G. Noel. You have to be a servant leader, a servant professional. I got you. Whatever you need, I got you. Within reason. I got you, boss. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. But I'm not gonna miss my daughter's game, but I got you. But like, like you have boundaries, but you're able to, when you are there, you performing at a high level. Oh, Kassan said, I don't know if there's a prophecy. Well, receive it, my sister. This is what a professional asset attracts. Boundaries is what you got to have boundaries. Like, because when you're bound to God, that means you're bound to God's will for family. You're bound to God's will for your personal development and personal stability. So you're able to communicate, hey, these are my boundaries because what you're bound to. And then you give God the rest. That's what I do. I say, hey, man, this is as far as I can go. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm not going to do. But we're talking about the excessive stuff, something that you didn't sign up for, right? They're trying to use their leverage to make you do more. No, set your boundaries and trust God with the rest. Because if you're more bound to people pleasing or bound to external validation, then you'll burn yourself out. And I was guilty of that. I was guilty of external validation. I needed validation from people. I was bound to people pleasing, and it burnt me out. Now I got boundaries because, man, my wife don't play. I took 2 days off. I'm off today and tomorrow because I got to make sure I don't burn out and break off, if that makes sense. So what does a professional asset attract? It attracts career advancement and opportunities. It attracts respect from colleagues and employers. It creates an invitation to work on high-profile projects. It attracts new clients, high-level clients. Yeah, I'll be live tomorrow as well, Lord willing. So that's what professional assets are. Let's go to generational assets. We kind of shared some of these already. But let's define what a generational asset is. I've been going an hour and 8 minutes. But you guys been rocking, so I want to feed you all as much as y'all desire to eat today. But here's the definition of generational asset. The values, wisdom, and resources passed down to benefit future generations. Generational asset is values, wisdom, and resources that is packaged and passed down that benefits, not becomes a detriment, but becomes a benefit to your children and your children's children's children. Here's an example. A parent who teaches their children about financial literacy and leaves a legacy fund provides it with knowledge and resources for a stable financial future. Do you know that's why generational asset at the bottom is because packaged within your generational plan should be packaging it spiritual assets, teaching your children and children's children how to pray, how to read the Bible, how to let the Bible read them, how to praise the Lord, how to serve the Lord, leaving within that generational package, mental assets, how to think clearly, critically, and creatively, Packaged in that is the ability to understand, manage, and express your emotions. Also in that physical, also in that generational package that you're going to pass down is the desire for physical fitness and health. Also the ability to build and maintain relationships, as well as the gene that generates generational impact for their own children's children, and how to be professional in all endeavors. All of that has to be packaged within your generation so that when you die, you know that on your last few minutes, you don't have to scramble to hopefully place within that enough for them. No, you lived a spiritual life. You lived with spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, relational, creational, financial, asset abilities that when your children glean from you, they take that with them. So that generational is that you have values, wisdom, and resource that you can pass down to future generations. What do you pass down? Are you going to pass down generational curses or generational blessings? Here's a liability. Failure to plan for future generations or neglecting to pass down values and resources can leave successors unprepared for life's challenges. The people who succeed from you, the people who are your successors, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. How many of us right now, watching right now, we had to start over because our parents didn't start? How many of us we entered in relationships with no relational awareness, no asset, no pass down? This is how we think. This is how we believe. This is how we deal with our emotions. This is how we are about physical fitness. This is how we are in a relationship. This is how we are. And it's rooted biblically. Thank you for your honesty, Shamika, I'm sorry. All right? I don't want my daughter to have to start over because I didn't start. I want my daughter fully stocked with these assets that makes her an asset. Thank you, Kassan, for your transparency. I don't want her to have to start over. So those who fail to plan plans for failure in their relationships. Here's what a generational asset attracts. It attracts a lasting legacy. That's what I want. That when I die, the name Joshua Ezzy will live long. It says the respect and admiration of future generations. Don't you want your great-great-grandkids, when they hear about you? Man, great-granddad he was a great man. Great-grandmama, man, if it wasn't for her creating this family business. Do you know the power of family business? That's what my wife and we have conversations about right now within our family business called LifeWork. LifeWork is our family business. And we create coaching programs and resources to help disconnected entrepreneurs and high achievers, disconnected individuals to reconnect with what matters most, helping them grow holistically for God's optimal use, helping them to see that their life's work is their best work, right? We want them to find their life's work so their life can work for them, right? And benefit them. And we also have social, emotional, and social impact learning programs for schools that next semester we'll be right back providing after-school programs, social, emotional learning, where kids learn social, emotional skills as well as social impacting skills. We want to be able to help young entrepreneurs have social impact skills, social impact abilities. We know for a fact there will always be people that want to know their purpose. We know there's going to always be people that feel unfulfilled. We know there's going to always be people who's going to want to grow holistically for God's optimal use. We already know there's going to always be people who want to grow holistically. And we always going to know there's going to be schools who are going to need social and emotional learning. That's why I'm a dean of students right now. That's my field. There's going to always be schools who want social emotional learning. There's going to be schools there's going to be a huge future of social impact learning that God has put me the head of, where people are going to want to be entrepreneurs. Young people are going to want to learn how to be financially literate and how to create their own so they won't have to depend. So because I already know that, we're working on that so that when Hannah's 18, 19, when she's 12, when she's 11, when she's 7, she's working within the family business, learning skills from family business, learning business from family business, that when she graduates high school, she has a job making 6 figures a year, learning more skills where we already have a money for her for when she's ready to venture off, that now she wants to create a branch of the family business. So that's what the good thing about family business is, that you create a family business. When your children is old, they have a house. See, when my daughter gets 18, 19, we want to be able to say, hey, you have a house if you want one. You have a job if you want it. And that if you are creative and entrepreneur in your own right and you want to create your own entity, you want to create your own business, you can branch off from the family business and do what you want to do. That's the mentality. That's what generational impact is. That's what the creational part is. Tapping into that gene that generates for generations. Whew, I'm done. I pray this video is a blessing to you. I pray you are thinking. Get a sheet of paper right now. I want you to write down a sheet of paper these 8 things. I want you to write down in one column: spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, relational, creational / financial, professional, and generational. And I want you to write down either an L or A. And whichever ones you have a liability in, that's the area you must target. Any area you have an asset in, do you have systems to sharpen that asset? Any area where you have a liability, you got to ask yourself, do I have, now that you are aware, now what must you do? And if you need help with this, and you're like, Coach, I am successful, only but in one area though, Coach. And I want to grow holistically for God's optimal use. I want to be a person where God can use me no matter where I'm at. He can use me in my marriage. He can use me with my children. He can use me with my great-great-grandchildren. He can use me. If you're that person, this message resonates with you, and you're like, hey, Coach, I'm professionally successful, man. I'm not relationally successful. I'm a professional asset, but I'm not a relational asset. I'm a spiritual asset. I can tell you where every Bible verse is, but man, I am not a mental asset. I'm this, but I'm not that, and I have a hole in one of these areas. I want you to reach out to me. Go to my website, mycoachjosh.com. Reach out to me however you feel. Look at my coaching programs. Look at the books that I have that can help you. I got books on soul ties and strongholds. Maybe your soul ties is keeping you from being a relational asset. Get my book, The Purpose of Freedom. Or maybe you're just bad at decision making. You don't really know how God confirms things. And get my book, Counterfeit versus Counterpart, or Counterfeit or Counterpart. Get that book. If you're a person that do you think it's spiritual warfare, you're like, man, I just don't know how to war against the devil, then get my book, World War Me. Or maybe you don't understand what purpose is and you're lost and misguided and misdirected, and get my book, Multi-Purpose. If you're just bad at relationships, then get the book, The Purpose Relationship. If you're just single right now, you're like, man, how can I make this singleness and maximize it? Man, get the book, Purpose of Singleness. There's 11 books available. 5 card games available. If you need one-on-one or group coaching environment, or you want to be a part of a community and you want to grow and dedicate the next 3, 6, or 12 months for your personal growth, to check out the coaching programs. But either way, you cannot live with that liability, because if you keep those liabilities in you, it will mess your life up. And nobody watching me right now want to mess up life. You don't want a messed up life. You want a life that's a message of hope, of excellence, and of productivity. So this resonates with you? Go to my website, mycoachjosh.com. If you want some self-guided resources, look at the books, look at the card games, look at the 2,500, almost 3,000 of the videos on YouTube, or simply reach out to me to learn more about our coaching programs, where my wife and I can serve you, help you grow holistically for God's optimal use, to help you from being disconnected, feeling unfulfilled, feeling lost, or feeling out of harmony to being back connected with God and things that matter so that you can be growing and flowing in what God wants you to. Let me see if I got any questions. If not, I'm going to go ahead and go. I got to go to the gym before it gets too late. I love y'all. I'll answer questions tomorrow. I probably won't go this long tomorrow. Shamin says, surely a blessing. Thank you so much. You welcome. My sister cousin says, good nuggets, cuz you welcome. Finally, family should be looked at like a mini econ. That, my bro, I might have to do a whole video on family business because it should be your own mini economy. That's the gene pool. Generating ideas from the family's skills and abilities that will then create so much. So, hope this video was a blessing to you. Hope you got something out of it. You so welcome, Kasan. I'll catch y'all next time. Love y'all. Thank y'all in advance for your generosity. Thank you in advance for however you support what I do. I'll catch you next time. Peace.